Thank you. The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's start off with this because I just want to follow up with my colleagues' questioning here about inflation. What was inflation at the time that this president took office? Do you know?
Inflation.
What was the inflation rate?
In the early 21 was below the Fed's target of 2%. So it was in the.
It was at 1.4%, right? And what is it now?
Right. So now the latest figures were that over the last.
What is it now? What is it?
Above 3%.
Above 3%. So it's gone down?
Inflation has risen since 2021.
Okay, just want to make sure we got that straight. Okay, when he took office, it was 1.4%, and now it's well over 3%. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Swagel, for being here, Director, and I appreciate it. I want to talk about two things here today, okay? One is the cost of unilateral executive orders, and the other is the interest on our debt. Let's start with the unilateral executive actions. The economic impact of executive decisions made by the president. We know that this president has declared war on prosperity and opportunity. We know that day one, he declared war on fossil fuels and just destroying American energy and with that goal. And we should have an entire hearing on just that, but we don't have that opportunity. But you know, two things. First of all, this president, he's talked about forgiving and tried and attempted to forgive. I shouldn't say forgive because my colleague, Representative Good, pointed out earlier, transferring debt, student debt, to other taxpayers, not forgiving it, but transferring to other taxpayers, and weakening work requirements for government programs and crippling our energy sector, as I mentioned before. But recently, he's also proposed a ban on LNG, which does two things. First of all, the economic impact that it has on this country, and then the environmental impact worldwide that it has. Both of those are tragic. But let me ask you, when you does the CBO, do they account for executive actions in your baseline estimate when you do your figures?
Yes, sir, we would. As an example, the export ban that you mentioned on natural gas, that came after our projections were set. So in our next update in the spring, we will look at that and say, well, what effect does that have, if any, on the budget?
Okay, do you anticipate it being a positive or a negative impact economically?
I would expect that to lead to lower investment in natural gas, and that seems like it'd have a negative effect on.
Absolutely, I would agree. I appreciate that very much. So basically, that's my next question. Whenever we have these type of decisions, does decreased economic activity resulting from executive actions impact our debt?
It does, because stronger growth would mean more job creation, more revenue, lower deficits, and improve our debt trajectory.
Is it better or worse for our fiscal future to be energy independent and to trade our resources with the rest of the world, in your opinion?
The U.S., in terms of
economically speaking, you're an economist. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, the energy boom in the U.S. has been a tremendous positive for our economy. So it's a complicated situation, but that's the big picture. Is a huge positive for our security and our economy.
Okay, let me ask you this, and I have it written down to ask my staff, but I'm going to ask you because you're the expert. Where does interest on our debt rate now, as far as line items? Is it fourth? Is it third? Where is it?
It depends on how you tally it. I'll tell you right now, our projection for this year is $870 billion, which is more than defense. So defense is $822 billion, a little bit less than non-defense, which is $917 in discretionary. So that gives you an indication. Interest is like about the same as we're paying for defense discretionary.
But if we're talking about line items, Social Security is first. What would be second? Yeah. Medicare?
Social Security is, this year we're projecting $1.45 trillion.
And what would be second?
Medicare is just under $900 trillion, and then Medicaid and CHIP and others would be after that.
Okay.
So that would
but I'm talking about individually. So Medicare by itself is 900?
Is just under 900 billion.
Okay, so then we would have the interest on our
Interest
debt, and that would
after
be
that.
third.
Yeah, that's right.
And it won't be long before the interest on our debt will surpass Medicare.
Next, in 25, that's what we project.
So in 25, the interest on our debt will be the second highest line item in our budget?
That's right. So in 25, we have 951 billion of interest is our projection, and Medicare is 940 billion.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, sir.